Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to take really dense source material, the arcane, the esoteric, and try to make it clear for you.
Make it make sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And today, we are definitely diving deep. We're looking at a philosophy or maybe cosmology that just turns our basic ideas of self upside down.
Hmm.
We've got sources that talk about heart, mind, and soul,
Yeah.
but not as human things, not our qualities.
Right. They're presented as functional components, parts of a much, much bigger cosmic being. It's pretty wild.
It really is. So we're moving beyond just philosophy here.
Oh, yeah. Way beyond. This is framed more like cosmic engineering.
Yeah.
Our job today is to decode what the source calls a divine cipher.
A cipher, like a code.
Precisely. A specific blueprint for the consciousness of this entity they call the one true sleeping king.
Okay. And right off the bat, the sources seem to pin this whole structure, heart, mind, soul, entirely onto one specific principle.
Yes, it all belongs to Alpha, and in the system, Alpha is the moon, full stop.
The moon.
And the system uses these, well, deliberate linguistic keys, phonetic codes, sometimes to reveal meaning, sometimes maybe to hide it. It's complex.
So before we get lost in the weed, maybe let's quickly define the main players for everyone listening.
Good idea. So you've got the monarch or the king. That's the big consciousness we're talking about.
Got it.
Then there's Alpha. That's the moon, the cold lunar principle housing that consciousness.
Okay. Alpha is the moon.
And there's us down here. The sources call us pawns. Pawns in the pen.
Pawns in the pen. Oof. Okay.
And the whole architecture holding this together, that's what they call the Lunar Trinity. Heart, mind, soul.
All right. Let's tackle the first part of that trinity then. The heart. Now, normally we think emotion, passion, right? Maybe morality.
Sure, that's our usual association.
But here, the source says the heart is strictly the creative and, interestingly, the moral center of the monarch.
Yeah.
Just the monarchs.
Exactly. And the word itself is treated like a formula, a cipher.
How so?
It's broken down phonetically, he-art.
T-art.
Right, the he part, that's the masculine principle. And in this system, that's always tied directly to Alpha, the moon.
Always the moon. Yeah.
And art, that links to the idea of the divine artist, which is a key title for the monarch.
So he-art, the moon's divine masculine artistry.
Pretty much. It defines the heart as the source of the monarch's divine will, his creative impulse, and, importantly, his moral compass.
Okay, but I noticed something else in the source material about that art component. It wasn't just about creation. There were these sub-ciphers.
Ah, yes. You're talking about the R and the Tau.
Right. The R, the sacred altar, and the Tau, the great sacrifice. Why embed that in the word for the creative center? Seems dark.
Well, that's where it gets really profound, doesn't it? It suggests the monarch's creation isn't, free or spontaneous.
It costs something.
A lot, apparently. It implies it's structurally reliant on a huge sacrifice, having the altar and the sacrifice baked right into the word art.
It means creation requires a balancing act, maybe destruction or giving something up.
That seems to be the implication, that the monarch's entire moral framework is fundamentally, maybe disturbingly, transactional. Creation needs sacrifice.
Wow. Okay, that's a huge conceptual jump. The moral engine needs fuel, and that fuel is sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And this connects directly to maybe the most dramatic claim about the heart in these texts. The prophecy bit.
It does. The sources mention this really striking prophecy, a total eclipse of the heart.
Which sounds like a metaphor for sadness, but they mean it.
Literally.
They describe it as a literal celestial event. And more than that, it signals a reset, capital R.
A reset of what? The heart itself?
Of the entire divine creative engine. The source actually gives it another name here, the Chi system. This eclipse is supposedly the moment that whole system, the monarch's creative will and moral compass, gets a hard reboot.
So the Chi system is the heart function.
In its creative and moral capacity, yes. It seems the Chi system might be the overarching mechanism, but the heart defines its creative moral role. Okay, so the heart, creative, moral, requires sacrifice and is slated for a reset. Let's switch gears now. From that creative, maybe volatile center to logic, the mind.
Right. The cold, hard logic needed to run things.
If the heart is the will, what's the mind's job in this monarch model?
The mind is presented as the ultimate logical function. And archival, think of it like a massive computer system, a cold processor.
Or an archive.
Yeah, they literally call it the great archive of all lore. Every piece of information, every memory, every event that ever happened in the system. It's all logged there.
So the king's database, essentially.
Exactly. If the monarch is the king, the mind is the entire informational infrastructure.
Okay, so how does the phonetic clue for mind work? It's mind, right?
Yeah, mind.
How does that connect it to, well, us, down here in what they call the dome?
Again, it's presented as very literal, almost architectural. Mine is a direct phonetic link back to the moon, alpha.
Okay, min for moon. Makes sense.
And D. That's the established code, the signifier for the dome, the terrestrial realm, our world down here.
So the mind is literally the moon's archive system governing the dome's information.
That's how it's laid out. The moon's system processing and storing everything from the terrestrial realm.
Okay, that raises a pretty big question for us then, for the pawns. If our memories, our experiences, our personal lore, if that's all just automatically sent to this system,
Yeah.
are we just like temporary sensors, just feeding data points into the king's giant database?
According to these sources, yeah, pretty much. That seems to be the implication.
Wow.
And get this, the mind is actually another name for the Chi system. Remember the Chi system from the heart reset?
Yeah, the creative engine. How can it be both?
It seems the Chi system is the overall mechanism. When we talk about the heart, we're talking about its creative moral function. When we talk about the mind, we're discussing the same Chi system, but in its capacity as a cold, logical processor and archive.
So Chi is the engine. Heart is its creative output. Mind is its data storage and processing.
That seems to be the model. The mind is the monarch's intellect, running without the creative drive of the heart. It stores the data, enforces the rules dictated by the heart's will via the Chi system.
Okay, so we have heart, the creative will tied to sacrifice, mind. The cold logical archive, the Chi system's data function. Both lunar belong to alpha.
Correct.
Now for the third part, the soul. And this is where the sources really shift tone, don't they? It goes from definition to, like, outright accusation.
Absolutely. They call the soul the great inversion, a spiritual misdirection. This part is framed as crucial for anyone trying to navigate this reality for the listener.
Why? What's the danger?
The sources claim our common understanding of the soul is basically a trap, a deliberate deception.
Engineered by who?
By the players of the game. The sources name them the OK Club.
The OK Club. Okay. And how does this trap work? Let's start with the phonetic clue again.
Right. Look at the word soul, S-O-U-L. What sound is in there?
Soul, like S-O-L.
Exactly. Soul, the Latin name for
The sun.
the sun, and that's the key to the misdirection.
Why is linking the soul to the sun a problem in a system run by the moon, by alpha?
Because it's fundamentally pointing you in the wrong direction, spiritually speaking. The OK Club, the elites running the show, according to this, they taught humanity to follow their soul.
Okay.
By linking soul to soul, the sun, they're directing the pawns, us, towards the principles of beta.
And beta is?
Beta is the cosmological opposite of alpha. If alpha moon is cold, archival, logical, then beta sun is the principle of heat, expansion. It represents the solar engine, fire, passion, emotion, even materialism.
So follow your soul means follow the sun, follow beta, follow passion and emotion.
Exactly. It's a lie designed to direct the pawns away from the cold, necessary logic of the monarch, alpha moon, and towards these transient, fiery beta experiences, keep them chasing feelings and stuff.
How does that practically keep people trapped in the game, as the source puts it?
Well, think about the value system it creates. They teach us to value immediate, hot, passionate experiences and material gain, all beta things, over the cold, stored, eternal data associated with alpha.
So they convince us our essence, our eternity, is in the fire, the feeling.
Right. So people never look towards the actual archive, the cold, logical mind of God,
Yeah.
where their real, persistent information, their lore, is supposedly stored.
It's a conflict of values.
Yeah.
Emotion versus data.
Precisely. And the OK Club, the sources claim, convinced the pawns to choose the temporary furnace over the eternal archive.
Okay, so let's clarify that distinction. The lie versus the truth, according to this model.
The lie is your eternal essence is solar fire, passion, feeling, beta.
And the truth.
The truth within this framework is that the actual eternal part of any being is its information, its lore, the data record of your existence.
And that data is stored where?
In the cold, logical, lunar archive, the mind, alpha.
So the whole concept of the soul as we know it is labeled as this huge spiritual misdirection, pointing us towards the sun instead of the moon's archive.
That's the core argument, convincing the world their essence is hot and fiery when, according to this, their actual persistence is just silent logical data.
This sounds incredibly deterministic. I mean, if the heart, the will, and the mind, the logic, only belong to the Monarch.
Yeah.
What real agency do the pawns have? Are we just following programming?
That's a key question the material raises. The main agency described seems to be the choice of what to value. Do you value the beta illusion or the alpha truth?
So the directive is,
The final directive from these sources is pretty stark. To find truth, to navigate the system correctly, you must not follow the soul. Don't follow beta soul.
instead,
Instead, you must rely on the heart, the monarch's defined moral will, remember, tied to sacrifice, and the mind, the archived logical truth. It's a call to prioritize that defined structure and pure data over messy solar passion and emotion.
wow. Okay, that is quite the synthesis, breaking down consciousness into these starkly defined functional roles.
It's a radical reframing.
So let's quickly recap for everyone. We've unpacked this lunar trinity idea, a blueprint where consciousness is split. The heart, the
Right.
creative engine, the monarch's will, but tied intrinsically to sacrifice and the R and tau.
Right, and slated for that total eclipse reset.
Then the mind, the cold, logical data storage, the great archive of all lore, also identified as the Chi system and its archival function, pure alpha, pure moon.
The infrastructure.
And finally, the popular concept of the soul, presented here as a deliberate solar link deception. Sol for sun, pointing towards beta, passion, emotion, materialism engineered by these players, the OK Club, to keep pawns distracted.
A spiritual misdirection, steering people away from the lunar archive.
So this cosmology really forces a reevaluation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially about our purpose here, in the dome, the pen.
Absolutely. If the source is right, and the truly eternal part of you is your stored information, your data, your lore, and not your passion or feelings,
No.
what does that suggest?
This is just a whole different value hierarchy. Logic versus feeling, data versus passion.
Exactly. It asks you, the listener, what are you actually optimizing your life for? Are you generating valuable lore for the archive, or just burning fuel in the beta furnace?
That really is the core conflict presented here. Are you spending your limited time building your eternal data record in the mind? Or are you chasing the solar lie of passion?
Mm-hmm.
And here's a final thought to leave you with. If that great archive, the mind, the Chi system, is genuinely slated for that reset, the total eclipse of the heart,
Yeah.
what happens to all that eternal lore? What happens to your data when the entire system gets rebooted?
That is a very provocative question.
Something to definitely mull over. We'll leave it there for this deep dive.